Hello from Alaska. So this is our SoapNote workshop. I had a technology snafu where I thought I was recording and technology happened. So we had this great discussion and brought up lots of different things, and it didn't record for all of you distance from Alaska students, I should say. So I'm going to try my best to recreate it and go over the important things we talked about. So today we went over how to organize your objective section, so it makes sense to not only you but to whoever is going to go in and read it, and ensuring that it has all the important information so the next therapist that's going to be working with the client has a really good view of what the client can and can't do. For this, I chose to use my own personal objective section from the Practicum 1 when I took this course. And in Alaska, we always say it's a judgment-free zone when we share stuff like this. I was not an expert by any means in SoapNotes. I had a lot to learn and definitely a lot of more room to grow. And when I looked back at my SoapNote, I was like, oh wow, that's where I started, and now I definitely feel more comfortable and confident writing SoapNotes. So that is my hope for you guys, that you one day feel as comfortable and confident as I do. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So by now, everybody should know that your objective section should have your opening statement and a play-by-play of the treatment session. So here is my objective statement, well, section. I don't know why I say statement all the time, but it's a section. If you want to take the time and read through it, go ahead and pause this video now. So we're just going to go over how can we fix this to make it more organized and it makes more sense, how we can make it, condense it so it's more succinct and it has all the important information. So as you can see, the very first thing that I'm missing is an opening statement. And then at the end, you could see I was not able to finish my objective section. I was about to say statement again. During the time frame, during this practicum. But I hope that wasn't the case for you, and you all rocked it. I hope, and I'm sure. So, how did we break this down? So, start off with adding back a opening statement, and these are all bulleted, but that's just because that's the way the PowerPoint is. In real life, they'll look like little mini paragraphs or just a few sentences with little breaks in between. And then I focused on breaking down each screen into its own little blurb. So like the first one is, the cog screen. Well, not necessarily cog screen, but was the patient oriented? What was their pain? Because that's most likely the first thing that you're going to do when you walk into an acute care room with the patient in there. And then wrote out the range of motion screen, how they performed and what areas that they were having difficulty with. And then into the vision screen, the sensation screen, discussed the sit to stand and then the functional transfer assessment. One of the things that came up when we were talking about it is it okay to have like this much space when you're writing your objective statement? And I said yes, only from personal experience. This is how we wrote our objective statements in a outpatient clinic that I was at for my level 2A. Especially during the evaluation process, we would have like little topics of cognition, pain, vision, and we wrote our findings underneath each. So with that being said, every clinic and every site is going to have different standards, and right now it's just important that you guys understand where information goes and how to clearly write it in a clinical way, in a succinct way, so that the person reading it after you knows how this client is going to perform or has a really clear picture of the client. So with that being said, I'm sure more information could go into the objective statement, but for the purpose of this SOAP note, I just really wanted to show the breakdown of each screen and how to organize it better to go from, you know, a really giant paragraph that sometimes doesn't even make sense when you're reading it, and doesn't really use great clinical based language, to something that is very clear, has clinical language, uses appropriate abbreviations, has all the components, mostly, to make a great or okay objective section. I think this is probably the part that people struggle with most, because how much information is too much information, how little information is that not enough. That's kind of where what we were talking about today, is how much is too much and how little is too little. And I was like, well, what does Dr. Feldhacker always say? It depends. It's always going to depend on where you're working and what their standards are for the SOAP notes. So I would err on the side of caution, and as long as your notes are have all the important information, and you feel like someone can come in and replicate your session or something similar to your session and have a really great idea of how the patient is going to perform, then you're on the right track, and with additional practice you will get better. The SOAP note book that everyone should have is a great resource for when you're learning to write SOAP notes. I think I didn't look at that book enough, but when I was out on field work, that book was like at my desk, and I would reference it whenever I was having difficulty with how should I word this, or I'm sure there's a better way that I could word that, because it's just full of examples. So I definitely use that as a resource. And then, as well as, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or you could reach out to Dr. Feldhacker or your lab faculty, because we are all here to help you and just build you up in your SOAP note writing abilities, especially since there is so much content with this course. The more feedback on your SOAP note writing skills you get, the better. That way you can improve. So if you guys have any questions in regards to this SOAP note workshop, please feel free to reach out to me. I will also attach these 2 slides in the email so you could have a better idea of, well, so you could just reference it and really look at what I wrote when I was in this class compared to how I fixed it last week. So really hope that this was helpful for you guys and that you enjoyed it. Have a great day.